I don't think it's appropriate for you to be here.
And I don't think you're fit to talk about what's appropriate.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry to be rude, Mrs. Drake. I just got a little upset when I saw your husband working on a third baby to kill. Did you tell your wife that her grandson is also her stepson?
What?
Your husband's been cheating on you. With his own daughter.
In New York City, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. These are their stories.
Hey everyone, welcome to Munch My Benson. My name is Adam, I live in Galveston, and unlike the main character in this episode of Law & Order SVU, I am without child today. Joining me on the line as always is Josh. How's it going up there, Josh?
It's going.
Been up to anything cool?
No.
So...
I watched this episode of SVU twice.
Yeah. My wife has been taking the car a lot because she's had to work up the highway. And of course, I gave my van to my nephew. This is all getting ready to move to New York. So I've been walking the boys to the dog park, which is a pretty long walk, but it's been gorgeous weather here. So it's been a nice excursion out of the house. And I'm getting myself ready for living full time without a car and full time in a very small box with a very hyperactive dog. So, taking it a day at a time. I haven't really watched anything besides this episode. Let me think about that. I'm going back through my mind, and I can't really think of seeing anything since the last time we spoke.
We finished Wayne. It was good. I really dug it.
Nice.
I'd recommend that. I think... I think we can probably dive into this episode pretty quickly because I feel like there's gonna be a fair amount to talk about.
Yeah, well, let's jump. We don't need a dilly-dally. We dilly-dallied a lot last time, and I think it was to our detriment to my detriment because I'm going to have to edit it.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, let's do it.
So we are watching a very special episode of Law & Order Special Victims Unit this week. Mm-hmm. It is from season 7. It's episode 14, and it is called Taboo. Shauna Mulway-Tweep chases her pooch down the street. Once she catches Angel, a lady coming down the steps of her brownstone stoop helps her to the fact that her dog's trotting around with Afterbirth clasped in her maw. And a quick search with her releashed dog leads them to a baby in a garbage bag. Some rich, detached Upper West Siders think the trash baby must belong to the panhandler by their favorite coffee shop, but she's suffering from pseudocyesis and hasn't been pregnant in years. The trash kid was found wrapped in a bloody t-shirt that leads the unit to Einstein's bar. They start chasing down winners of Einstein's Drunken Genius t-shirts, and the search takes them to the Manhattan Institute of Technology and Ella Christensen. Her mismatched pillowcase matches the sheet the baby boy was found in. She insists she hasn't been pregnant, and an at-the-time separated Elliot flips his lid in interrogation, earning him a Saturday afternoon off with his kids. With only thin circumstantial evidence tying Ella to the baby, she tries to leave the station in clear distress, but with Liv following her, she collapses in the elevator. Jump cut to the hospital, where Liv tries to strongarm the same doctor she just tried to arrest a non-pregnant homeless woman in front of into a HIPAA violation. But our trusty Doc Aiken isn't having any of that bullshit, and won't serve up shit without a court order. Liv says fuck it and walks into Ella's hospital room and tells her that the doc told her everything. Likely misled, Ella fesses up that she was septic because part of the placenta remained attached to her uterine wall, but she adds a wrinkle to the situation when she says that she didn't know she was pregnant until the little tyke dropped out of her and that the kid was spawned from a rape. While Liv is trying to corroborate the rape allegation, Novak asks why she hasn't arrested the baby tosser, and Kragan drops in with the news that this nutcase looks to have discarded a baby a year earlier, so we've got a serial baby killer who's also a rape victim on our hands. The previous investigation in Newark ran into a brick wall when they couldn't verify whether the first discarded baby was stillborn or not because the decomp was too advanced when they finally found it. Even better, Her dad is a Newark city councilman who may or may not have helped pressure the initial investigation into a quick, painless resolution for his traumatized daughter. Ella won't serve up the married family man who she eventually confesses knocked her up. At arraignment, the judge grants bail on the condition that she not get pregnant again, which Ella can't promise will happen. Wong suggests that she was dissociative in court and that she might be suffering from postpartum psychosis. Then, Liv gets the call to visit Warner, who serves up the disgusting nugget that Ella's dad is the fucking father of her child. Yes, kids, it's a fucking incest fest up in the Drake household. Liv races off to Drake Manor and finds gross old dad cuddling up with his daughter lover on the couch and drops the bomb to the councilman's wife, who goes from smarmy to disgusted at breakneck speed. Ella and dear old dad had been estranged, but her daddy abandonment issues meant that when she found her absent father upon her relocation to the big city, it was love at first sight. Pops says that she approached him first as a random constituent who he fell in love with, but that he still knew she was his spawn when they first got their fuck on. He asserts that, as a lawyer, he has a right to see his daughter in the other interrogation room, and while they trauma snuggle in the background, Novak tells Liv there ain't shit they can do about the incest because it's between consenting adults and she'd only get a slap on the wrist, and that Ella would have to be charged also. She sticks to the story that she couldn't recognize that her baby was a baby, that it looked mutated, deformed. In her shocked state, she didn't know what she was doing, a claim which Novak tries to undermine to no avail on the stand. Councilman Drake hops on the stand and tells a repulsed courtroom that he'd engaged in a 2-year-long affair with his daughter. This time around, he claims that he coerced her into the relationship, contradicting what he told Benson while being interrogated. Novak won't let him peddle that horse shit without being taken to task, and he tries to claim that he only said they were fucking consensually in the first place to avoid being charged. The jury returns a not guilty by reason of mental defect verdict, and the father-daughter couple share a long, gross embrace in the courtroom before she is to be remanded to a psychiatric institution. Liv tries to get Ella to flip on dear old dad since she can't be tried again for the abandonment and attempted murder of child number 2, but Ella tells Liv that both of her babies were crying and that she had to get rid of them, which means Newark can charge her with murder in the first case. Liv and Novak head to see the son, who survived only to find grandfather dad holding the son. Novak's got an injunction to slap in his face that ensures he ain't getting anywhere near his incest spawn. Liv tells baby Woe that it's all gonna be okay, and we get a there ain't a palate cleanser strong enough to get this taste out our mouth, Dick Wolf.
Now, the thing about this one, I feel like we should resuscitate that old who is the big bad that we've had a few times, because this episode seems to go back and forth, right? Like, for most of it, we do obviously think that the gross incest father is the bad guy, but I feel like there are times when we think that Ella is the one pulling the strings. Like, she's the mastermind behind this whole scheme, and I don't think it's fully resolved at the end. But it is gross, that's for sure.
I think they're both clearly the big bad. Mm-hmm. Dude was fucking his daughter.
Yeah, big time.
Ain't no getting around that.
Sure was.
Yeah, and, oh, man.
But you know what? So what are the chances on another podcast about another show that you would roll 2 incest episodes in a row? It's very slim. Because the last one was about Ludacris being the product of incest.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that. I mean, that's wild. I can categorically say that this is more fun.
Oh, much more fun. But just the chances on another program of rolling 2 incest episodes in a row when you're doing a randomizer like this, very slim.
Yeah.
Very slim. Uh-huh. Also, 2 episodes where Novak gets her ass handed to her in court in a row.
How? I have that note in here. I had actually forgotten about the incest wrinkle in the last episode because I tried to block it out of my mind immediately.
Yeah. And you only had to watch it once. I had to watch it twice.
Yes, so. I did only have to watch it once. I have gleefully watched this one twice.
There's a laundry list of guest stars in this one.
Yes. I think it's safe to say we should start out with Skylar Fisk, who's playing Ella Christensen.
I suppose.
She is a singer-songwriter in addition to acting. Her music has been featured on a bunch of TV shows and movies, and she's released 2 solo albums on Universal Music in addition to recording with bands. She is the daughter of Sissy Spacek and Jack Fisk. Jack Fisk directed a few films starring Sissy Spacek in the 80s. He works mostly as a production designer and art director for big name directors like Terrence Malick, P.T. Anderson, and David Lynch. And he's the production designer on the next Scorsese movie.
He's pretty big time. They apparently met on the set of Badlands.
Yes, when he was art director on Badlands.
Yeah.
But he's moved up to production designer. Production designer pays pretty handsomely.
Yeah.
So back to Skylar Fisk. She starred as Christy in The Babysitters Club, Elaine Leonard in Snow Day, and Ashley in Orange County. More recently, she appeared as the young version of Sissy Spacek's character in Castle Rock and a handful of indie features. Moving on to Dear Old Dad. Yeah. Željko Ivanek is playing Councilman Everett Drake. He was born in Ljubljana, Slovenia, to an electrical engineer who ended up getting his PhD and later working at Stanford. He spent 8 of his first 10 years in Slovenia, but otherwise grew up in the Bay Area. He went to Yale and then did graduate work at the London Academy. He's done a lot of stage acting, earning a Drama Desk Award and 3 Tony nominations. He also won an Emmy for Best Supporting Actor for Damages. He played Assistant State's Attorney at Danvers on Homicide, Life on the Streets.
Yeah.
And appeared as that character in 2 episodes of the original Law and Order.
Cast member in Homicide, Life on the Streets.
Brain melter, because that's all in this universe. This is the second time that he has appeared as a non-Ed Danvers character in a Law and Order show, having appeared before he was on Homicide, Life on the Streets in another episode of the original series.
Yeah.
He also appeared in the penultimate episode of season 1 of The X-Files, playing the titular Roland, and of course, Munch appeared in an episode of The X-Files, so that's also in this shared universe. He was main or recurring cast in Oz, 24, True Blood, Heroes, Big Love, Banshee, and Madam Secretary. He also appeared in the films Tex, School Ties, Courage Under Fire, Dancer in the Dark, Black Hawk Down, Dogville, Manderley, Live Free or Die Hard, In Bruges, Argo, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah, and other things too.
Tons of other stuff.
Manchurian Candidate, just so many things.
I left that out because that sucks.
Yeah, it does. Donnie Brasco, I mean, lots of shit.
And sucks and isn't interesting.
Still, people have seen these films.
You've undoubtedly seen Željko Ivanek in other things.
And you wouldn't expect that would be his name, because I never knew his name, but he's a very recognizable character actor.
Yeah. He carries no hint of his Slovenian accent.
None. Yeah, none at all.
The next one I want to go to is Tijuana Ricks, who's playing Dr. Marnie Aiken. She grew up in Louisiana. She went to college at Washington University in St. Louis and then went to Yale School of Drama. This is the second time we've seen her as this character. She previously appeared in Haunted, which we covered back in Munch My Benson episode 2. Hot Mike Sandoval comes in the back door. She's in 2 more laters of SVU as different characters. She's in 2 later episodes of SVU as different characters. I feel like I didn't say that right last time. She just appeared in season 4, episode 4 of The Resident as the mother and a mother-daughter combo who are both sick and the unit is trying to diagnose. She also played Themby Wallace in Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist. She also had recurring roles on Billions, High Maintenance, Red Oaks, and the original series where she played Sergeant Royce in 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Next one I've got is Michael Lerner, who is playing defense attorney Morty Berger.
Yeah.
He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor Oscar for Barton Fink, most notably. He also played Arnold Rothstein in 8 Men Out. He's appeared in a bunch of stuff. The Candidate, The Postman Always Rings Twice, the one with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Newsies, 3 episodes of Rockford.
Yep.
And the Clueless TV series where he played Mel Horowitz, Cher's dad.
He was also in A Serious Man, which is, I think, a highly underrated Coen Brothers film.
Yep.
I have a film for us to watch based on Michael Lerner's IMDb page.
Okay.
So, going through everything down there, because his credits go way back. We're going back to 1963, and there's all kinds of shit. I mean, he is in every TV show you can possibly imagine, going back to the golden era of television. But one of the films he was in 1990 was one that made me go, what's that? I've never heard of that. It's called Maniac Cop 2.
Those are awesome.
This is showing on Prime Video. It appears to be free. It is a Robert Davi star vehicle, which also stars Robert
Zedar,
yeah, and Bruce Campbell. So there's no way that this isn't extremely over the top. The tag is a supernatural maniac killer cop teams up with a Times Square serial killer. It was directed by William Lustig. So I think we need to watch that one.
Absolutely. I'm totally down. I believe I've seen Maniac Cop 1.
Okay. Robert Zedar, when I saw that name, I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Like,
sign me up.
If I didn't know what his politics were, I would be more excited about a Robert Davi star vehicle, but I'm still fairly excited about it because...
No, I'm absolutely down to watch Maniac Cop 2. All right, so this is one of 2 SVU appearances that Michael Lerner makes as Morty Berger. We haven't covered the other one yet, so we'll get there when we get there.
He's another one of these character actors who's been in so many things that you know him.
Yeah, and honestly, I think he really fucking delivers in this episode. He's pretty great.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic.
The next one I've got is Allison Becker.
Yeah, obviously.
She's playing the owner of the dog who's running around.
Angel's owner is what her character's name is.
Yeah, Angel's owner.
To me, I was like, holy shit. She was like probably the most recognizable person in this to me.
Yeah.
and then I look through her IMDb page and I go, why do I know her so well?
She's in like all of this comedy shit because she's a UCBer.
Well, but she also had one of the most memorable turns in a single episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
She's the yoga teacher.
In the hot yoga episode, yeah.
Yeah, and she's fantastic in it.
Yogi Tina, I believe is her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So she grew up in New Jersey. She graduated high school by the age of 16, went to Georgetown, and then moved to New York. She was in the improv scene at UCB in New York. She appeared as Detective Streetman in 2 episodes of CI, Criminal Intent. She's probably most recognizable as having played Shauna Mulway-Tweep 14 times on Parks and Rec. Like any UCBer, she shows up in a ton of stuff. Like since 2003, she has 75 acting credits. She's also done a ton of basic cable, like hosting, VJing, panel work. She also appeared as herself in Class Action Park, the super fun doc about Action Park in New Jersey. And she grew up going to that park.
Okay.
So that's on HBO Max. If you haven't seen it, it's fucking so fun.
I have not seen it.
Do you know anything about Action Park?
I know nothing about it.
It's the crazy dangerous theme park.
Oh, awesome.
In New Jersey that just like you went and you would come home bleeding because of some fucking insane thing that they let you do. Like they didn't have any like structural engineers advising how rides should be built. And so like the kids working at the theme park are like just fucking dipshit kids who are drunk and stoned all the time.
Nice.
It's just the inmates running the asylum.
It's pretty amazing how few rules there are about theme parks and water parks.
Especially in the 70s and early 80s.
I mean, until that senator's kid was decapitated at Schlitterbahn in Kansas or whatever, there were very few rules about these things.
Any rules that there were devised because of Action Park. Like, Action Park is fucking insane. But yeah, super
now
fun
there
doc.
are more rules. Now there are more rules, but only recently.
So, next one I've got is Alexandra Neal, who's playing Mrs. Drake. She's done quite a bit of work on soaps. She appeared in Manhunter, Wall Street, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, the Madoff miniseries, 3 episodes of the original series, and 1 episode of Criminal Intent. Moving right on down the line, we've got Greta Lee, who's playing Heather Kim, who was Ella's old roommate. She's probably most recognizable as having been main cast in Russian Doll and the Hugh Laurie star vehicle Chance on Hulu.
Weird.
She was also co-lead in the film Fits and Starts opposite Wyatt Cenac, which I've actually seen. She appeared in both incarnations of High Maintenance as Heidi, both the web series and the HBO show. She had recurring roles or appeared in multiple episodes of New Girl, Girls, Wayward Pines, Inside Amy Schumer, and Nurse Jackie. She was also Heywan in the Amy Poehler Tina Fey flick Sisters. And she was actually in one of the same episodes of New Girl as... Fuck, who was it? someone else in this episode. Allison Becker.
Oh, nice.
Moving right on down the line, we've got Annie Golden, who's playing Varla, the panhandler who has pseudocyesis.
Yeah.
She played Jeannie Ryan both in the 1976 stage revival and 1979 film version of Hair. She's probably most recognizable as having played Norma, the mute in Orange is the New Black. Most interestingly, she was the female lead singer of the CBGB mainstay band The Shirts back in the 70s and early 80s. That was a weird turn that I wasn't expecting. She's been in a bunch of shit. She was in Desperately Seeking Susan and a bunch of other things. So.
She was Cliff's love interest in 4 episodes of Cheers.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what that character was, but I saw that she was in 4 episodes of Cheers.
Bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
She was in 12 Monkeys. She's been in a bunch of stuff, too. Did you look up Jack Mulcahy?
I did not. Or I may have and just fucking shut it because I didn't care.
Oh, my God. He was the eldest McMullen brother in the Brothers McMullen, which somehow, I don't know why this information had me watching a trailer for the Brothers McMullen, but he was also...
Don't you hate that movie?
Yeah, of course I hate that movie. It is such 90s ensemble cast drivel. Everybody's smart and attractive and talking about their philosophies about relationships. Every movie in the 90s was this.
Well, especially Edward Burns movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was also in both Porky's and Porky's 2 the next day. He has this like string of amazing films that he was an extra in. Awakenings, Bonfire of the Vanities, The Fisher King, Billy Bathgate, Scent of a Woman. Is that all of them? Yeah, that's all of them. That was between being in Porky's 2 the next day and being in the Brothers McMullen. But he looks exactly the same as he did in that Ed Burns movie.
Last one I have is Jennifer Regan, who's playing the businesswoman, the one coming down the stoops to catch a ride with her driver there. This is the first of 4 of her appearances on SVU. She was also in recurring roles as Doreen in The Heart She Holler and Susan Duane on Neon Joe Werewolf Hunter, both Adult Swim shows. Neon Joe Werewolf Hunter also features Stephanie March and Munchy alum Shuler Hensley in recurring roles. Shuler Hensley was the distraught father in Hooked.
Nice.
So that's fun. That's all I have, which is still a lot. But
yeah, that was a lot.
Do you have any more?
No, you got everybody that I looked up and found interesting. I was trying to track down, one of these people was in Dancer in the Dark.
It was Željko Ivanic.
Oh, it was, okay.
Yeah, he was the DA.
That's right. I feel like eventually we'll have the entire cast of Dancer in the Dark besides Bjork that we will have seen in one of these Much My Benson episodes.
Cross your fingers. Hopefully we get Bjork too.
I don't think she was in any SVUs. I'm pretty sure.
No, I mean hopefully she's in one in the future.
In the future. Yeah. Maybe she'll start acting again. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
So
what if there's Bjork songs? They do songs at the beginning now, fairly frequently.
That's true.
Maybe we'll get a Bjork song off of like Volnikura or something.
Yeah. I feel like that's a pretty big leap to have like, a 2022 episode of SVU go to like, I don't know, the mid 2000s to get a Bjork song to be the intro track, but never know. Maybe it'll be about the 90s and they'll get a, Sugar Cubes or something.
I think we're good to move on to notes, right?
Yeah, I think we can move on to notes. I have a couple location notes, but I'll throw them in here and there. I did a little dive on Bellevue, but we'll get there later.
Okay.
My first note has to be Angel looks like an extremely good dog. He's got a great sweater on, just a little prince. Now, how gross is it that there's fucking, they call it Afterbirth like 4 times.
Yep.
And this dog is just trailing this bloody mass of flesh behind it while it's running down the street.
I mean, my first note is the Afterbirth on the sidewalk was gross. Well done, art department.
Yeah, so gross. And they really dropped the ball later on, but at this point in the episode, they are doing a great fucking job.
Yeah, that is disgusting.
One of the grossest things I've seen. Just this like mass of bloody flesh that is like, you can almost see it like pulsing there on the street.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love this businesswoman too, Jennifer Regan. She's like, oh, I know Afterbirth. It's basically the subtext of all this is like, I popped out 3 ungrateful shitbirds.
Yeah.
I know what Afterbirth looks like.
That shit looked exactly like my disgusting shit.
Yeah. Okay, so I did a little cursory digging on stem cells with regards to placenta and umbilical cords. So umbilical cord stem cells seem to have a lot of potential for utility, but placental ones are harder to deal with because you've got cells originating from both the fetal and maternal sides of the equation.
Yeah.
It's harder to separate the fetal placenta cells because they're contaminated with trace amounts of maternal cells from the decidua. As a result of this difficulty, there are very few studies being done with placenta stem cells. At the time of the publication of, it's this article that I'm referencing on cryocell.com, so Cryocell International's webpage. So as of publication of that article, and it was updated in the last 6 months or so, there were 4 recruiting trials asking for placenta stem cells versus 78 using umbilical cord mesenchymal stem cells.
So my understanding in this, of course, is just living with a doctor, is that most, and she doesn't, like, a lot of the stem cell stuff is kind of...
It's research in labs.
It's research in labs, but also the stuff that is actually given to people is a lot of times kind of, it's unproven science, a lot of it. But adults have stem cells in their noses that they're able to capture. And so a lot of the stem cell treatments that you hear about are actually taken out of your nasal passage somewhere. And those can form lots of different kinds of cells. But a lot of it is unproven science or not really tested enough or good enough environments to know that much about it.
Yeah, it's not reliable. It's experimental still.
But I felt like in all the medical research they did in this, they could have made a quip about people eating the placenta, which is something that people do.
People do that.
We did not eat, I guess it's Max's placenta. I don't know. I don't know who actually has ownership of it. Is it the baby or is it the mother that owns the placenta?
Well, that's joint, isn't it? It's got both of their stem cells.
Either way, it's gross and none of us ate it.
Yeah. You didn't grill it up?
No.
So the umbilical cord clip, gourmet coffee, that's the most nondescript name for a coffee joint ever, right? Like, they didn't even try.
They tried a little bit harder with their Asian restaurant, their Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, they did.
So the next thing is, I think it was funny, is how Olivia is the sheet expert in this. She's
the sheet police.
Yeah, she's the sheet cop. Low thread count. She's like, this is cheap, but the stitching is really nice. Like, I would never put this sheet on my body, but it does have nice stitching, so it's not complete trash. I thought it was just funny, her thread count diagnostics.
Well, her thread count, like, classism.
It's true. Yeah, it is classism. I mean, Liv is a cop, right? She's a working person. Like, what thread count are we talking about is unacceptable for Olivia Benson? Is 300 good enough? Is she 1,000 or bust? I mean, what are we talking?
My next note is on pseudocyesis.
We're not there yet. Josh.
You have more to talk about before that?
Yes, because they find the baby in the trash outside a rich couple's house.
Oh, yeah, I skipped over them altogether, though.
No, but they talk about the trash. She says, based on their trash, I think she said, he's liberal, she's conservative. Their favorite food is mushu pork from Walk This Way. So couple things that so first off, are they James Carville and Mary Matlin?
Yeah.
Walk This Way. Is there a Walk This Way in New York?
I mean, I'm sure there is somewhere else, but...
There is. It's not in New York, New York. It's in Trumansburg, New York, which is essentially a suburb of Ithaca.
That tracks.
And it's considered the best Chinese takeout in Trumansburg, New York. So if you're ever up in the Finger Lakes and you're looking for some mushu, check out Walk This Way. I don't think they deliver to the Upper West Side, though. I think that might be an expensive delivery bill.
This could be a situation where there was a Walk This Way in the neighborhood then, and now the only one left is in Trumansburg.
I did a surprising amount of research on this, and I don't believe that there was. So,
did you check property records?
I believe that going back to the mid-2000s, I didn't go back into the 90s, but to the mid-2000s, there was not a Walk This Way. But there used to be a Walk and Roll in Austin. I know that. I don't know if it's still there.
There isn't a Run DMC and Aerosmith fan who really needs to have a Chinese restaurant in New York.
No, there isn't. So yeah, pseudocyesis. This is a thing, apparently.
I feel like Wong actually breaks it down pretty well just from my cursory research about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they kind of fall down on this.
So apparently, yes, some people can. How would you exactly describe it?
It comes from the Greek for false pregnancy. Pseudo is false and pregnancy is
It's
chiasis.
essentially a psychosomatic pregnancy that they convince themselves so much that they don't
Develop all the physical symptoms of pregnancy.
like enlarged belly, no periods for months at a time, all sorts of other things that you would associate with pregnancy. I asked my wife, the gynecologist, about this. She has not seen it, but it is a thing that she's heard about it. She knows that it exists, and it is a thing that's out there now.
She presumably knows about it because they surely teach there in 2010 in Fayetteville, North Carolina. There were 2 doctors who performed a C-section on a woman, believing she was in labor, only to find no fetus. So,
ouch. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, that's a bad day at work, cutting someone open without verifying they're pregnant first.
Let's say it is my understanding that one can do a number of tests, including blood tests and ultrasound exams.
Can't you do urinalysis also?
All sorts of things that you can tell if somebody's pregnant or not.
Maybe do that first before cutting someone open.
Yeah, that's brutal. But it's the kind of thing that comes up in populations that have less access to healthcare. So it is very uncommon among most people in the United States because most women in the United States have access to obstetrical care.
Medical imaging.
They go see a doctor, and Medicaid, for all the things it doesn't cover, what it does cover is expectant mothers and, new mothers. So almost every woman in the country has access to at least a pretty good level of obstetrical care.
Right. There's an NIH study that I know we both looked at.
Yeah.
I'll have the link in the details for the episode, but it's endocrinology and physiology of pseudocyesis. And basically, numbers-wise, the incidence of pseudocyesis in pregnancies is like 1 in 22,000 in the U.S. because of medical imaging, basically.
Well, that was in Boston at a big hospital.
Yeah, but in the U.S.
At another hospital in Philadelphia that had a much poorer patient population, it was 1 in 250.
Okay.
So it essentially,
in sub-Saharan Africa and developing nations, it's a lot higher.
Yeah.
Like anywhere between like 1 in 160 was the lowest that I saw in a study, and up to like 400 or so in another third world study.
But for instance, this urban hospital in Philadelphia had a higher incidence of it than a hospital in Nigeria did.
That's pretty wild.
It's not to belittle Nigeria. It's telling you something about poverty levels in parts of the United States is I think what that's telling you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which is pretty upsetting. But it is extremely rare if people have access to obstetrical care because, you can take a blood test or a urinalysis or do an ultrasound like the doctor does in this. There ain't no baby in there.
There ain't no baby in there. So Chris Maloney had an easy week of work?
He sure did. Everybody did except for Benson, really.
Yeah. Well, and Novak. He fingered baby boy Doe in the hospital in the cold open, then interrogated Ella, where he lost his shit. And immediately thereafter, Cragen gave him the day off.
Yep.
2 scenes, presumably shot on the same day.
Completely loses his shit.
Oh, yeah. He had to have been pleased to get the check, and he got to, act a little bit. This was the episode immediately after Blast, the Warner show that we covered back in Munchy My Benson episode 12.
Yeah.
I don't want to go crazy defending a child molester, as I think what the name of that one was.
Yeah,
I'm not looking at it.
Yeah.
So Stabler was heavily involved in that one, and Liv was barely in that. So I think they're at this point in season 7 where this happens to be the most critically acclaimed season of SVU.
Yeah.
This was the one where Hargitay won an Emmy for 911, and Maloney got his first and only nomination for Best Actor in a Drama. Reportedly, it was Ripped that was submitted for him, which was an episode featuring Paul Wesley. So this is probably the apex of SVU's critical cachet. So I was looking back at the episodes right before this just because I was sort of curious as to how Stabler and Benson factored into the episodes, and there was definitely, it seemed like they were sort of at an alternating point in the season where one or the other was sort of carrying the lion's share of the work, presumably because they wanted some time off around Christmas or some shit like that. And so if you can work a day or two and still get your sweet, sweet money being co-leads of a pretty big show.
But you can also see how they're working a lot more backstory for both of them. And even in this one where Stabler's not in it that much, they definitely do feature his backstory quite a bit. And of course, Benson gets a lot of that here. And anytime she's interviewing a product of rape, then we hear a lot about her backstory.
Of course. So Novak overreached on the search warrant and won't be able to get a judge sign off on a court order to do an invasive examination to see whether or not Ella gave birth. This is 2 straight Munchy My Bensons we've drawn where Novak doesn't win her case and she kind of gets her ass handed to her, which we talked about a little earlier.
My note was how many fucking Novak episodes are we going to have in a row? I almost missed Graylick or any of the other.
Don't say that.
I want to see a Carisi DA episode now.
Yeah.
I'm I'm sick of courtroom-centric Novak episodes, I guess is my problem.
Oh, yeah.
Even though this one is a lot more fun than the last one.
This one's so much more fun than that, but...
Yeah, I miss Cabot. I miss somebody
Yeah, I miss
else.
Cabot or Barba, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't seen Barba in months.
Yeah, it's too bad. He's pretty great.
Josh, do you know what? Speaking of Barba, don't really know why I need to bring him up, but this is our 1-year anniversary episode. This is our 52nd episode.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we technically dropped 3 episodes the first week, so our 1-year anniversary is going to be more like episode 54 or 5. But yeah, this is 52 episodes. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, salute.
Yeah, salute. Yeah, what are you drinking, buddy?
Well, I just finished a Hop Tongue IPA, which is a different Carbach IPA, so I might need to go get another one.
Okay.
Before I keep going.
I'm drinking a Bullet Rye here. Bullet
Nice.
Rye rocks. It was
Nice.
It was Four Fingers. It's not anymore.
A classic of the genre.
And a classic Josh drink. It's
Yeah.
pretty much my go-to for a handle. If Jameson's on sale, I'll get it
Yeah.
as my other mass consumption whiskey.
At this point in my life, I'm not allowed to buy new liquors, so it's just drinking what we have. So, like, next time you see me, I'll be drinking a lot of grappa. I know I have some Armenian brandy from the 70s.
If
that
there were
God know
more
if it's
on-branded
drinkable.
drinks for you, I'd like to see them. Grappa and fucking Armenian brandy from the 70s. That's the most Schwitter shit I've ever heard of.
Anyways, I'll be right back.
So it looks like you're drinking a Dale's Pale Ale now?
I am, yeah. My wife got another multi-pack, and it was the lowest alcohol content beer at the front of the fridge. I didn't want to grab a fucking double IPA.
And then talk for an hour?
So we are in the process of getting rid of all the shit that we own.
Yeah.
You know, my wife is a big fan of the Marie Kondo method.
My mom espouses Marie Kondo shit to us.
Well, to me, it's like, it's not that mixing bowl sparks joy. It's that I need to have a goddamn mixing bowl to
no
make
shit.
dinner. Yeah, you know?
Certain things, I don't care if it makes me happy. I'm just going to have to fucking buy another one of those goddamn things.
The next time I do this, yeah. But anyway,
yeah.
so listeners, we are moving from a very large house, I don't know, maybe 2,000, 2,500 square feet. I don't know. It's a Victorian, not quite mansion, but almost, moving to a, maybe if we're lucky,
And let's be clear, you're renting this house.
yeah, we're renting. We do not own this house.
You're not homeowners of a large house in Galveston.
No.
Just so people don't think we're either of
We're
us
not
are,
in that.
are well off.
I'm not there. Now, like 8 years ago when we first moved here, it would have been a lot cheaper to buy a house like this.
Right.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. But owning this house would be like Josh's favorite Tom Hanks movie, The Money Pit, because I keep waiting for our bathtub to fall through the ceiling, and I won't be surprised if that happens between now and the time we move out.
Yeah.
But still, we spent today yelling at each other about mugs and bowls because we were condoing them. So that was my morning.
Every time we move, we get rid of a lot of shit. And when we moved back for however long this is,
Yeah.
or whatever this
Yeah,
move is
whatever
for.
that is,
Yeah,
yeah.
whatever is fucking going on here. When we moved back, we got rid of a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And when we moved to LA, we really got rid of a lot of shit.
You got rid of a ton of shit. I mean, listeners, Josh Dugan's apartment in Los Angeles was very small.
Oh.
You guys lived in it for 5 years, right?
5 years and 4 months.
Yeah, 2020 must have felt really long in that room.
I actually was totally okay with it.
Nice.
I miss my wife. We don't see each other anymore. We have too much space.
All right, back to the show.
I miss you, Jackie.
Aw, that's sweet. You skipped over one of my favorite lines. I think it was Elliot. I didn't write down who actually said this. Talking about Varla, that she's a fruitcake with baby fever.
Oh, no, that was not Elliot because he wasn't
might
in
have
that
been
scene. He's only in 2 scenes. It was, I believe it was Finn. It may have been Munch.
Finn also was in it for about 30 seconds.
Finn had
Munch-
more scenes, though. He was in the bullpen scene. He was in a couple of the investigatory scenes. Finn and Munch went to Einstein's bar.
That's right.
They were in
'Cause
more
Finn had gone
scenes.
undercover there with the college students.
Yeah.
So I guess, okay, Einstein's Drunken Genius is my next kind of set of notes.
I was going to make notes on this, and then I was like, oh, this scene's really boring to me. I don't need it.
It was totally boring, but I did a little kind of sleuthing with the addresses. And also this is where Elliot kind of shortly thereafter loses his shit on the poor girl. And to kind of center all of this is, I guess you would call this kind of the Manhattan Valley neighborhood. It's the Upper West Side. Everything happens right around around the corner of West 91st Street and Columbus Avenue.
There's a valley in the middle of fucking Manhattan.
I know,
I'd like to see it.
The Upper West Side, it's got all your classic rich people accoutrement. But one thing, so Elliot was berating her for not having dropped the child off at a hospital or at a fire station. And there is not a fire station or a hospital in this neighborhood. This is actually kind of the middle of a space in between firehouses. The closest firehouses are either all the way down at West 83rd Street or all the way up at West 100th Street. So it actually would have been a really long walk.
Where are they saying the college is?
The college is essentially right at 91st and Columbus Avenue.
Okay.
So they don't actually give an address on the dorm.
But there would have been one like 8 blocks away if you were going the other direction,
yeah,
right?
So Manhattan Institute of Technology, it's
fictional.
It's a fictional place. It's supposed to be like the other place besides Hudson University. So I would say it's the Columbia to Hudson University's NYU, even though they don't actually show the famous main building at Columbia like they often do with Hudson University. But they sort of place it in this spot that is about as far from a fire station as you can get on the island of Manhattan, which I thought was a funny little detail. And there is no hospital up there. The closest hospital is even further up, all the way up at Columbia. There's a Mount Sinai Morningside campus at Columbia.
Will your wife be working there at all?
Not at that one, as far as I know. She'll be at a couple of the other locations, but not.
But it was Mount Sinai locations, right?
Yeah, that's the hospital. But Mount Sinai is like a huge hospital group up there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's, I don't know, 6 or something just on the island of Manhattan alone. So, yes, I looked at all those places because all of them, the bar's right there. Every address they give besides Jelko's house is right there, which is over in Newark.
So once Elliot flips and he's out of the picture, the one-on-one interrogation scenes between Liv and Ella have a lot of weird framing.
Yes.
The one that stuck out the most to me, because we don't see this in interrogation scenes on this show, is where Ella was sort of curled up in the foreground. Sitting on a bench or a chair was hard to make out because the frame was pretty tight.
She does like a weird like curled sit in a chair move a lot.
Liv's behind her and sort of side saddle on like the bench, I presume, but her head is sort of framed over Ella's, it would be her left shoulder. And it's really odd. I mean, she's a little out of focus too, but that makes sense because Ella's in the foreground.
Yeah.
And they're not fucking with rack focus on that or anything like that. But I thought it was really odd and just atypical of interrogation scenes to have Liv sort of like
behind the subject.
Yeah, questioning her as her conscience or something like that on her, on her shoulder. It was strange framing for me.
Yeah. Oh, going back slightly, did you notice how just massive Ella's dorm room was?
Yeah.
Huge.
Obviously. And like when they're talking of a single, I was like, okay, well, single's
usually the size of like a large walk-in closet. I mean, if you're lucky.
Jackie had a really big single sophomore year at Minnesota. It was like a basement one, but it was a large room.
Nice.
That was entirely by chance.
Yeah.
The one single I had on campus was junior year when I was an RA. It was not big.
Yeah.
But it was right next to the bathroom at least, so that helped.
Like maybe you can have a bed and a desk in a single, and that's it.
Pretty much.
Get that microwave mini fridge combo rocking.
I'm not a big microwave fan.
I mean, they have their place, just like anything else.
Like, we didn't have one in LA at all.
Really? You didn't have a microwave? Huh. Wow.
No. We got rid of ours before we moved because I didn't need it. I mean, we have a toaster oven always, but...
There's some magic that you can work with a microwave if you know the tricks.
Yeah, if you want to irradiate any of the nutrients out of your food.
I mean, I'm sorry, but applying heat to it from a fucking gas burner is irradiating it. And, you're getting more air pollution from that.
But it's different with microwaves.
You can measure the speed of light using a microwave, but I think that's a digression.
Yeah. We had an electrical oven and stove.
Yeah.
And a toaster oven, I think, is fine.
Here's the thing I hate about, like, Democrats being in charge, right? Because when Republicans are in charge, we're supposed to blame everything on them. When Democrats are in charge, we're supposed to blame everything bad that's happening on ourselves, I think, a lot of times.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the things that we're supposed to feel bad about now is the pollution caused by gas ranges.
And by Bitcoin mining.
Okay, Bitcoin mining too. But gas ranges is the thing that I just like. My wife is like, it's bad for the environment and it's bad for your health. And it's like, motherfucker, like, I can't have anything nice in this fucking world.
Stop watching MSNBC.
I have to use a goddamn electric stove that sucks, that cooks things unevenly. Or I'm going to use a fucking stupid induction burner that's like I'm going to cook with fucking magic. That's how I'm going to cook.
God, my brother hates his induction burner. He fucking hates it so much.
You go to like jiggle the stove, you jiggle the pan, and it like stops, and you're like, God damn it. I mean, it boils water really fast. But
that's it.
Back to the show.
Yeah, back to the show. So fucking Ella collapses in the elevator, and we get another instance in which Liv is saying, I need some help here. Somebody call a bus now.
Okay.
Once again, we're like hitting that moment that irked one of our listeners, Marissa. We're in a police station, so someone will take care of this.
This wasn't a police station. Wasn't this at the dorm?
No. This is in the police station.
Oh, okay.
She's questioning her in the police station.
Okay. Somehow I had my like sense of place out, and I was like, you don't just call for a bus when they're random civilians. Like, I don't know what you're asking for.
It's in a station, but it's still that situation where you're blindly yelling for someone to call for a bus.
Absolutely.
And it's obviously suboptimal.
No, before she even collapses, though, she's clearly not well. For multiple scenes.
There's the shot behind her where you can see the sweat glistening off her face. So someone clearly had a spray bottle on set that had to like go up to fucking Skylar Fisk and just spray her with a fucking spray bottle of water. But
she's like having given birth with no medical care.
Yeah.
She's much more likely to fucking drop dead from a massive infection than Diora Baird was when she got MRSA out of the blue in that episode.
Yeah, for sure.
What was the what did we call that one?
It sucked that D-Bag Rape Boy was going to be the last guy to lay pipe in McCallum County.
Yes, Witness, season 11, episode 16. I mean, like, in that one, sure, she just dropped dead out of nowhere and nobody knew. But in this one, she did not look well, and she had a reason to not be well that made sense that somebody should be like, hey, we need to get you medical care or you could die in 15 minutes.
Like, Liv should be kind of attuned to that.
I mean, she's a career sex crimes investigator. She should have at least some experience with pregnancy complications. It seems like it would be part of her job description to know that stuff.
We get a little more questionable Liv shit right after this because, and like in the recap, I didn't say this, but it is possible that Liv actually got the court order and presented it to the doctor, but we didn't see it.
No, we didn't.
And it sure plays like Liv straight up lied to Ella and threw Dr. Aiken under the bus, saying that she told her everything about Ella's situation when she did not.
Yeah, that was totally my takeaway.
That's absolutely how it plays.
Yeah.
If that's not how it was intended to play, that's not on us. It's not our fault that that's how it reads. It's really fucked up.
Very manipulative.
So she goes from entirely ignoring day of, or maybe day after, but post-delivery of a baby, complications. She completely ignores that and then goes straight into ignoring that the doctor didn't say shit and couldn't have because of fucking HIPAA. I don't know. There's some questionable Liv shit going on here.
Absolutely. Is it Liv that goes to talk to the guy? I don't know how she found this guy from Ella's class who was obsessed with Ella.
No, that was Finn.
That was Finn. Okay. So Finn goes to talk to this guy who...
This scene is fantastic.
I really enjoyed this scene.
Yeah.
Because the kid says...
No way it was Ella Christensen pregnant.
It's winter. Everybody's bundled up. Could she have been hiding her weight gain?
Look, I'm probably gonna have to retake differential equations because all I do is stare at her. She's a goddess. Her body is perfect.
Outside of your dreams, how much of her body have you really seen?
I did a weird dive on that, and then I realized that all of my assumptions about college mathematics were wrong, and I had to fucking erase all of it.
But I have a problem with his statement, first off. So he says, I need to retake differential equations because all I did was stare at her. She has the body of a goddess. So I'm going to start with that last issue first.
Yeah.
Because one doesn't know whether she has the body of her goddess or not because she only wears
baggy as fuck sweatshirts.
Baggy purple gem tone sweatshirts or blazers only. Like she has two different baggy purple sweaters and she has one purple blazer. And so one doesn't know what her figure looks like. I don't know if she's a goddess or not.
Well, he also could be really into pregos.
But okay.
Like young lithe pregos.
What on earth is that fucking comp lit major looking motherfucker who probably went to a fucking Sunny Day Real Estate concert the night before he talked to Finn?
Yeah, he's so into Jeremy Enoch.
Yeah, what is that motherfucker doing taking differential equations in the first place? Like, what degree program is he in? Yikes.
Well, it's at Manhattan Institute of Technology, so it's some fucking techie bullshit.
one would assume, but still, that kid, he's not, in my mind's eye, what I think of as a science major in whatever, 2007.
Agreed. So once the vice is closing on her, Ella alleges rape, which is super problematic.
Yeah.
Maybe this is rape, but she sure isn't treating it like it's rape afterwards. So
no, she mentioned, she definitely kind of drops the whole rape angle pretty quickly.
Yeah. And so then we've got her basically throwing out a false rape allegation to cover her tracks, which is suboptimal for all of the people who actually were raped. And then have people, questioning it because they're false allegations. It's like, well, she's contributing to the problem here, which sucks.
No, that is for sure. Real quick, before we get further down the Ella rape incest rabbit hole, I'd like to talk about Munch going to talk to Ella's professor. And this was one of my favorite exchanges, actually, in the episode. Munch asks, did it seem like she was in any pain? And the math teacher says, they all were. I gave a test on eigenvectors and undetermined coefficients.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a funny line. I thought he delivered it well. But I don't know that you would have the same test be on those two things. They seem like they would both possibly be in your Diffie-Q class, but yeah, they're kind of like eigenvectors as their special set of vectors for a linear system of equations, matrix equations.
And they're often in linear algebra.
Exactly, yeah. And I can't give it...
I did a search of eigenvectors and...
undetermined coefficients.
Yeah, undetermined coefficients together. And it did bring up a couple textbooks that were for linear algebra with differential equations. Okay. So it's possible that it was in a thing that was sort of merging the two. It's obviously way further down the line in math studies than I got because I was a liberal arts major.
Yeah,
but
there's a part of my brain that responds to some of the words that are in these pages, these Wolfram Alpha pages that I have open, but it does not.
But it's latent and it doesn't. No, exactly. I was pretty good at math.
Yeah,
and I took Calc 2 in college to pad my GPA and never went.
Yeah,
but I stopped.
I definitely did 2 semesters of calculus in college, but I never went past that. I never did a Diffie-Q class. But they did their research.
Yeah, they did their research.
They did some research.
I was instantly suspecting that they did not do their research. But then, no, they had... Moving to when Finn and Munch are questioning the Drakes, how closely Everett is holding his wife when they're questioning them is super creepy and speaks volumes about what a fucking sleazebag this guy is.
Yeah, I mean...
They're being questioned, and it's not like the frame is so tight that for the sake of the shot, they have to be holding themselves. Like, it's clearly like he is holding her really tight, torso to torso, standing in the middle of a fucking large room. Yeah, it's weird.
I was going to say the title Newark City Councilman says volumes about what a sleazebag he must be.
Yeah. And then we get to, right after this, we go to Jerry Spencer, who's the Newark Politico. He seems like a real doucher, too. Yeah. I have to say, I agree with his not serving up a DNA sample, because it would imply that he was stepping out when he wasn't.
Yeah.
But he still oozed dickbag.
Yeah, he sure did. The eldest brother, McMullen, shows up here. He's the Newark cop who doesn't really...
doesn't take kindly to Munch saying, oh, you fucking slack-jawed yokel, you're not going to go into the fucking Newark City dump in the summer and find this baby. But they did. Yeah. And so Munch was just being a dickhead.
Yeah, he was. And it's like, come on, man, this guy's a fucking city councilman. How much do you want me to do?
Yeah,
it's like kind of above my pay grade. Yeah, exactly.
But it played funny. I liked the scene.
Staying with the first time where we meet the Drakes, this is definitely a case where when we get to the Drake's house and you see, what's his name?
Željko
Ivanek. When you see Željko Ivanek, you know that he did it. Just instantly, you're like, oh, this is the most recognizable face in this episode. He obviously did it.
Yeah, and the second most recognizable face that isn't Alison Becker, who we'll never see after the open.
Yeah.
She also obviously did it. So
she also did it, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think Liv is taking her to the arraignment hearing, and there's a crowd of protesters outside the courthouse.
With hilarious signs.
No, the laziest fucking sign work I've seen on SVU thus far.
Hilarious to to me.
Yeah.
Hilarious to me because, like, it's so mailed in.
Yeah, it's not even trying.
It's just colored poster board with fucking Sharpie and, like, 3 words. Max.
Yes, 3 words. I wrote all the ones that I could read.
Uh-huh.
They're not even filling the space of the poster board. They're, like, barely even trying. One said, bring back death penalty.
Yep.
Another said, baby killer.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Another said, safe haven saves lives.
Yeah.
Another says, monster. And my favorite one, the one that was trying the most, said, tie her tubes, exclamation point.
That one was great. The monster one's funny because I assume that person's just a fan of the movie Monster, the Eileen Wuornos hagiography. Yeah. So I love the judge at arraignment. Her quote, and I know I'm going to drop this in somewhere. It may be at the end of the episode, but
as I believe the defendant is not a threat to anyone but her own offspring, the court is requesting that in exchange for a lower bail amount, she does not get pregnant again before trial.
That's unconstitutional.
I'm not ordering that she be sterilized, Mr. Berger. But if you do become pregnant again, young lady, you will be found in contempt of this court, and bail will be rescinded.
Your Honor has no right to legislate procreation.
Do you think you could manage to comply with that order, Miss Christensen?
I don't know.
Bail is set at $2 million. Cash or bond.
which is
pretty fucked up.
Delightful.
I feel like it's a pretty fucked up ask that the court can determine whether, you know, whatever they...
I mean, it'd just be a contempt charge, but...
Yeah.
I mean, she killed two of her own babies.
Well, she didn't kill the second one.
No, sorry, she didn't kill the second one. She tried to.
She attempted to murder the second one. And the first one, we at this point don't know that she actually murdered. We learn that much later. Tell your wife her grandson is also her stepson.
Oh, God,
was a really
damn it.
fun line.
Okay, the maternity results are amazing. It had been a while since I last saw this, but I figured it out with a little prodding by the title that he was, quote, too much her son before the reveal. It was great waiting for Liv to have that bomb drop, though, and her revulsion at the incest was amazing. And then we jump to Liv going straight to the house, and his goddamn wife opens the door, and she's smug as fuck, and she's like,
what do you know about your husband's relationship with Ella?
Well, he obviously loves her very much. I just co-signed the papers putting up our house as collateral.
For what?
Bail.
Where's Ella now?
She's inside with her father.
oh, such a fucking misstep, idiot. You thought you had it all fucking figured out, but you didn't.
Your husband is such a fucking creep.
Oh, fucking hell. Like, when she says, like, obviously I'm gonna drop the your husband's been cheating on you with your own daughter bit in, and that's gonna go with the intro, because there's no way to get this episode in without doing that. But holy shit, Hargitay relished getting to drop those lines, and this is when it's just like, this episode's utter fucking insanity. Like, this episode's so crazy.
I feel like they've really missed an extremely good opportunity to have the wife in the courtroom just making just this horrifying face in the gallery the whole time.
Yeah, there's not a courtroom reveal, but I think they only had her booked for scenes at the house, and they were all shot in one day.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there was we saw him in the gallery.
A lot, because she's never looking at his fucking face again.
Exactly. But seeing his imminent ex-wife sitting there too would have been hilarious.
It would have been great. Yeah. Then we jump to Ella divulging like the deep, disturbed pathos that her daddy issues are wrapped in.
Yeah.
Which is, like, if you take a step back, this is some of the most fundamentally fucked up writing that we've encountered on the show.
Just
like, we fell in love at first sight.
Yeah.
Like, this only happens on this show.
The writers of her character jumped whole hog into the father-daughter love affair in a really gross way. Like,
especially post-abandonment. A post-abandonment reconnection. Like, it's
they went as full on, like, they gave themselves the out for it to be rape, that the father was some kind of psychopath who raped the mom and then had to do it to the daughter too. But that's not where they went. They went with, no, they fell fucking in love and they're both equally responsible.
Yeah, it's, fuck. Well, and then it cuts to Everett Drake getting questioned and he's like, we couldn't help it. And I'm just like, I'm shuddering even thinking about it. It's so fucking gross.
What I say here is finally a good courtroom scene. And I'm saying, like, finally for, like, the last several months of watching these episodes, when he's up there and he says,
Are you and your daughter close, Mr. Drake?
As close as two people can be.
Expand on that for the court, please.
For the past 2.5 years, my daughter, Ella, and I have engaged in a sexual relationship.
It's like, oh my God.
The second time watching this, I was just sitting there laughing at how disgusting the entire third and fourth acts are. And, you know, this is usually when we're at least like ostensibly tied down with
Mostly
courtroom
checked
scenes.
out.
Yeah. But holy shit, this is not that at all. This is a rare episode where the last half of the episode is way more insane than the first half. And the first half had fucking Afterbirth getting dragged down the street by a pooch and a trash baby. And that's like, oh, that's normal by the end of this episode.
Yeah, the Afterbirth didn't stain the dog's sweater. And that's not, we kind of forget about it.
But yeah, the entire courtroom full of people who are completely revolted by Ella and Councilman Drake's testimony is super fun in the most fucked up of ways.
Yeah, so I guess as a aside, I did a little research on the incidence of incest in the United States.
I'm glad you did, because I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
And I could not find hard stats, at least recent hard stats, but...
Because people don't talk about it.
Exactly. And so I did read a excellent piece from The Atlantic that's titled America Has an Incest Problem, written by Mia Fontaine. This was from 2013, right after Obama's second inauguration. And this was also right when the Catholic Church sexual abuse scandals were still in the news, and when the Sandusky University of Pennsylvania news was big time.
Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State. I'm sorry. UPenn is totally different.
It wasn't at an Ivy League.
Yes, exactly. Penn State news was huge. But according to this, something like 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 5 to 7 boys are sexually abused by family members before they turn 18, which is fucking mind-boggling. And it is notoriously underreported.
Yeah.
And so incest is not a ticket to a love affair that leads from Bellevue to the New York State Psychiatric Facility. It is a fucking epidemic of mental health crisis in this country.
Yeah.
And it's very disturbing shit.
Yep.
Back to the fun, though.
So Novak telling Liv that there ain't shit they can do about the incest because it's between consenting adults, and therefore it's not any worse in the eyes of the law than adultery. This little bit is even more disgusting because they've got daddy and daughter fucking hugging over shoulder in the background. It's so gross. So gross.
Tenderly stroking each other's cheeks.
There's so many tender, warm embraces between father and daughter in this episode. They're like 5. It's so gross. So disgusting.
But what I would want to know, and I don't know, we need to have a lawyer on to give us some expert information about this.
Email the pod, lawyer friends. If you want to be on to talk about incest and things of that sort, just fucking holler at us and we'll fucking get you in the mix.
Here's my question, though. If she is not competent to stand trial, how is she competent to enter into a consenting relationship with a man who is more than twice her age? That's a question that I have, because it seems to me like if she is not competent to stand trial, then she's also not
competent to consent. Yeah.
Especially that kind of relationship, right? Like, you need to be extra competent, in my view.
I suspect that the two things are technically independent of one another.
I know.
Because we're dealing with the one thing is potentially from postpartum psychosis.
Sure.
So entering into the relationship predates...
The relationship predated the psychosis.
Yeah. So I assume that that's where
the existence of the relationship, like...
Not that I'm saying this is okay, but I am not. But I suspect that that's like where the parsing of the law sort of separates the two things.
Pro-incest advocate Josh Dugan says...
Thankfully, I'm cutting this one, so that's not going in.
No, okay, so real quick. So one thing I wanted to, just an aside before we get back to it, what I thought was interesting about the locations was is that they took her when she nearly dropped dead from septic shock. They took her to Bellevue. Now, almost every time we see a hospital mentioned in SVU, it's not a real life hospital. They don't take them to Mount Sinai, or they don't take them to Beth Israel. They take them to Mercy General, or I forget the other one that they take them to all the time. Yeah. But it's one of two like fake ones that don't really exist. Bellevue, of course, not only exists, it's the oldest public hospital in the United States. The thing that eventually became Bellevue was founded in 1736. Now, the current Bellevue, this wasn't even part of New York. What is it, like in the 30s, something like that? It's 462. Yeah, 34th Street. 34th Street is where the Empire State Building is, for listeners that aren't aware of New York geography. In the 1700s, this was farmland. And in 1798, there was a outbreak of yellow fever, and the city purchased land along the East River that was called Bellevue Farm to use as a convalescent hospital for people during that outbreak. And that became the modern day Bellevue. This is where the first nursing school in the United States was. This is where the first resident training program in the world was created. Almost everything that exists in modern medicine the world over started at Bellevue.
Okay, so this is 34th, basically directly east of the Empire State Building on the river?
Yeah, it's east of the Empire State Building on the river. It is the most famous hospital, the most famous psychiatric hospital in the world, easily.
Yeah.
Also, the reason you associate with psychiatric hospitals is because, well, they had an inpatient psychiatric facility there, one of the older ones. But I think kind of the biggest one is because Allen Ginsberg stayed there and wrote about it in Howl. And in Howl, even if people haven't read it, it has a lot of cultural resonance. So a lot of things.
I've seen The Greatest Minds of My Generation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all at Bellevue.
Exactly. It was all written at Bellevue. It name drops Bellevue. But it's really like modern medicine exists because, or started at Bellevue, not necessarily exists because of it, because I'm sure it would have started somewhere else if it wasn't there. But it is a legendary place and it still exists. It is only the 40th best hospital in the New York metro area, according to U.S. News and World Report. But it is where you get taken if you don't have insurance and or you don't have your wallet on you when you get run over by a taxi cab in the middle of the night. So,
or by a bus.
Yeah, exactly. It is out there, and it is a legendary place.
Or you get hit by two buses at the same time, neither of whom will yield to one another.
Yeah, Josh is making a reference to the new Twitter that I'm into.
What will now be a month old.
Yeah. Adam's really into bus fight Twitter. So. Okay. So digression aside.
Yes.
I don't really have any more notes after for the past 2.5 years. My daughter and I have engaged in a sexual relationship, and we just kind of cackling for the next 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was laughing so fucking hard about this. My last two notes are after Ella gets off on this charge, thanks to jury nullification, Benson goes in and talks to Ella, and for a second time, she fudges the truth to get Ella to eventually give up that her first baby wasn't stillborn.
Yeah.
This one doesn't seem like this was Liv's intent, but it sure seems like twice in this episode, Liv treats the truth like it's a malleable thing.
I feel like Liv is going to talk to her at the psychiatric facility to kind of get closure for herself about this case.
I don't know that this was the psychiatric facility.
Yeah, there was a card for it.
Oh, there was? Okay, because this felt like she was sort of in holding, waiting to be transported.
No, there was a card for it. And you can tell because this is the first time she's not wearing a gem tone in the whole episode. She's wearing a gray sweatshirt.
Yeah.
But Liv's there, and it's like she's trying to get closure for herself because she's like, hey, listen, Ella, you know what? I actually understand your story better than you do because I'm the product of the same situation. And Ella's like, nah, bitch. I wanted to kill that baby, and I wanted to fuck my dad. So we're not the same.
Yeah. Did you want to fuck your dad?
And that's the scene where I think that, like, the whole time I'm thinking of Ella as a victim the whole time, right? Because how could she have the same level of culpability as her, like, 50-year-old father, who's a pillar of the community and seems like a just abject creepazoid?
Yeah.
But at the end, in that scene in the psychiatric hospital, I feel like it's like, man, no, Ella's at least as bad as the dad is. Ella maybe warped the dad into this relationship is what I was coming away with it as. At least the intent. I don't know if that's really the intent of the writers, but that's how it felt to me.
It at least arguably plays that way.
Yeah.
The final scene is just Liv and Novak going to make sure that Daddy Grandpa can't get custody of the kid. And I just love the line. He says he belongs with his father, and Novak's like, but not with his grandfather.
I know. I like that too. If you have that take that line out of context, then it's really funny. It's like, nope, Grandpa, get away from the child.
Yeah. I wish that the episode ended with that line, but not with his grandfather. And then Dick Wolf.
Did it have? Was there another line after that? Because I know they take the kid away.
Yeah, because Liv is like saying it's not your fault or it's all going to be okay. She tells
the baby.
Yeah,
it's not going to be okay. That kid's
loves to tell baby boy Doze that it's all going to be okay.
That kid's going to grow up in foster care for his entire fucking life. It's not going to be okay.
Yeah,
poor child. Fucked up parents, but did not have any genetic abnormalities. They made a big point of saying that the kid is like normal, even though he's the product of incest.
Yeah, I mean, he has a tail, but other than that.
A few gills. Just vestigial
but,
gills, though. They don't really work.
Oh, yeah, so he's not like Kevin Costner in Waterworld.
No.
It's not the next evolutionary step.
No. Can we rank this, Josh?
Let's rank this bitch.
Of course, every week we rank these episodes. We have a 4 criteria 10-point scale. We rank them on the overall quality of the episode, the quality of the guests, how problematic it was, and the depth of breadth of lives ruined. So I think this is really one that it does check a lot of boxes.
Oh, it does.
The quality of it is interesting because I think, to me, I'm almost like conditioned to want to check out as soon as Casey Novak shows up. And this one doesn't let you check out because the most bonkers stuff happens after the courtroom drama begins. When normally, like the last episode, which was all courtroom, normally you're just like, fuck off, Novak, nobody cares. But in this one, the tension actually rises throughout the episode. So it definitely plays against type, I guess, as an SVU, what would you call it? And as an SVU kind of...
As a trope.
A trope, exactly. It plays against type as a trope, exactly. So you want to throw out a number for this? I don't know that it's as high as the best... It's not as good as the best ones we've seen, but...
No, but it's really good, and it does ratchet up the insanity, so it's not one of those, like, cold open and first 2 acts might be insane, but then it settles into just being a courtroom drama. No, it keeps getting more and more insane, and, like, the level of insanity rises at really exponential rates. I'm inclined to say this is like a 7.
I was going to say 7 too. I was looking at another 7 for this category, Risk. They're not going to desex Hargitay for the sake of an undercover operation. And I think it had the same kind of... That was the one with Teddy Beckerstead. That was the one with Brian Callen was in that one. Mm-hmm. And that was another one.
I think this is better than that episode, but
that one was insane and had a lot of action throughout the whole thing, if you recall.
Yeah.
There was action up, down, left, and right. Like Finn was throwing guys down stairwells at the end of that one.
He was.
The Timothy Busfield Russian Brides was an 8. I think it could be. I think we could call this an 8.
I think it's as good as that. Yeah.
I think so too. I think so too. We called the Emily Deschanel.
Yeah, that one's great too.
Surveillance, 10 hours of bone sessions to get to the bone session. And I think it's a similar kind of insanity that is warped this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in the ways that are most delightful for us.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's an 8.
For overall quality, that's fantastic. I mean, you want this to be what you're watching.
You want to be sitting there talking to the person that's watching with you, like, are they taking this angle with this? Like, this is the angle they're going with? They're just dropping the rape angle, and they're going with the daughter-father love affair.
Yeah.
That's where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they went. And we, at Much Why Wenson, for the most innocent of reasons, love that kind of storyline.
Yes. Yeah.
So the guests, Shelko's a creep.
Yeah.
Shyler Fisk she plays Septic really well.
Also, like, her talking about meeting dear old dad and falling in love is so gross. And, like, she really fucking sticks that landing.
I thought Alison Becker did a great job as the dog owner.
The Annie Golden was good. I think that Doc Aiken was great.
Doc Aiken. Doc Aiken had the most thankless job, I think, but I think she did it well.
But I mean, she basically, like, stood right up to Liv and told her to fuck off. Like, I just watched you try to arrest an innocent person. I'm not just gonna, like, fucking roll over and let you do whatever you want.
Exactly. Now, I also don't think this is the highest possible marks we can give to an episode, but it's like a 7, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm comfortable with the 7 if you're comfortable with the 7.
No, I'm comfortable with the 7, yeah.
Okay. So, Josh, was this episode problematic? I'm not 100% sure.
I'm going to have to think about this for a little while.
Before the cold open, they said Afterbirth 4 times.
And that is like the tamest. That's the tamest of all of the problematic shit that's happening in this episode.
I know.
Once again, we have with zero hesitation a 10. Like,
it's hard to not give it a 10. Like, I want to go like, no. But then I'm like, yeah, it's really fucked up, man.
Yeah, this is peak problematic. Peak problematic. 10. Hard.
This
hard
is one
10.
that you want to take a shower after you watch it.
For sure. I've watched it twice. Twice since I took my last shower. Yeah.
My kid is 9 months old. The only English he really understands is the names of the people he knows and high five. And I was covering his ears a couple times during this one.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. 10, hard 10, all caps, bold, like in fucking 48-point font. 10.
Okay, final category is the depth and breadth of lives ruined. Now, obviously, one child didn't ever get to live a life.
Yeah.
Another child is going to live a life. I mean, maybe it's a newborn white baby. I'm sure it'll be adopted immediately.
Right.
So it does have that going for it. Maybe it'll be adopted immediately, and then Kragan will show up and fuck up its life and make it go live with its fucking asshole father that is only trying to get custody of it to stick it in the eye of its asshole mother. Which episode was that? That was...
We just did it. It's stolen. It's stolen.
It was stolen, yes.
Episode 48 that I'm editing right now.
Nice. Okay, that's right. We don't have a name for that one yet.
Nope.
But
this is a 1 week spot.
I mean, okay, but
we also have
so Mrs.
We've also
Drake,
got Ella. Yeah, Mrs. Drake, sure, obviously. She has been duped into signing over the deed of the house, but you know what? Fuck it. She's a rich white lady. She's going to be able to find other money.
What about Angel's owner? What about fucking Allison Becker? Now that the dog has a taste for Afterbirth, now that the dog has a taste for Afterbirth, and it's going to be trolling fucking...
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to find more Afterbirth for her voracious Angel.
Oh, and you're never getting the stain out of that sweater. That sweater was a cable knit dog sweater. It looked like it had Christmas colors on. That was one.
It was Christmas colors. This happened in December for the most part.
That sweater sparked joy. That one would pass the KonMari test, and now it's covered in Afterbirth.
Yeah, so we've got that. I think there's serious fallout with the father. He knows that he should not be having sex with his adult daughter, who he is reconnected with, still has sex with her. He is 50, she's 18.
Mm-hmm.
He then impregnates her, not once, but twice.
That we know of.
You'd think after the first one, you'd maybe wrap it up. But no.
Again, twice that we know of, Josh, because it's possible there are more, too.
Well, 2.5 years, I think max there would be 3. Possibly.
How many months is that? I think we could get 3 in there. We could get an extra one.
But the first one would have to be miscarried.
Possibly. Dad's losing his seat.
Well, fuck him, though. We don't need to worry about that for Fallout. But the daughter, Ella, was...
We don't know his politics, though. What if he was a good city councilman? What if he was, getting the potholes?
What if he's Anthony Weiner?
Yeah, right.
I mean, a pretty close analog to Anthony Weiner, honestly.
I'm kind of surprised.
I don't give a fuck about him, but, Ella, I think, at one point was not fucking tainted and ruined, and now she sure is.
But it sounded like she was because her mom was tainted and ruined by her experience with this guy.
Yeah, Ella obviously killed a child and tried to kill another that she bore from her loins, but she was broken this way because of the 2 insane parental figures in her life. So I think that she has to be factored in the Fallout. I don't think that Councilman Drake needs to be.
Do you think Councilman Drake hired Josh Pice's political firm? That's in addition to the Israeli Labor Party, it's a whole nother just completely lost client that's collapsed as a result of mismanagement.
Well, Councilman Drake at least has the thing going for him that he's a white male.
That's true.
And white men can continue to fuck up at every turn, and they'll get second, third, and fourth
Speaking of
chances.
Anthony Weiner, I think he's managing a granite tile company in New York now and getting lots of press with it because everybody wants to interview the guy that runs this tile company because he's Anthony Weiner. We're getting off track, though. What do we call this?
Yeah, I think we're looking at we're
looking at least mid.
3 or 4?
You think it's a 4? We have a dead infant, but the infant didn't really live long enough to have its life that ruined because it didn't know that it was alive, so...
I think the other fallout's relatively isolated.
It is, exactly. I mean, now the kid that survived is probably not going to be living in the healthiest...
But if we've learned anything about the foster care system from
That's true.
SVU,
We're talking about an SVU foster care system.
It's been kind of glowing thus far. We have not gotten crazy, fucked up foster care system episodes.
The foster families are fucking saints. The kids that are in the foster families are sometimes demons, but not the foster.
Yeah, they might be shitbirds.
So a 4, even though one kid died and another kid was literally left in the trash.
That kid's not going to remember that. Elliot fingered him.
So, okay. That gives us a 7.25. Now, we've had 7.25s before. The last one we had was Hunting Ground, which was the Amaro's peculiar sense of smell, which is one we go back to oftentimes when Amaro's in the unit. And we had a 7.5, which is one that immediately struck me as being a similar one, which was the first Connor Paolo episode we covered that was Juvenile, which we covered in Who's the Perfect Victim for a 90-Pound Tort Perp. That was a 7.5. Those both seem like analogs to this one.
In wildly different ways.
Oh, Trade was a 7.25.
Oh, yeah. I was assuming Trade was right there, too, because I wasn't looking at the spreadsheet. But
yeah, Trade was right there.
Trade is exactly as crazy as this one in all of the same kind of fucked up ways.
We gave Trade a 7 for problematic and a 10 for quality. So it's kind of flipping around exactly where the numbers lay. But yeah, kind of ended up the same way.
Yeah, but they're there.
And in the same way, we called the death of multiple people a 4. So that's where we are.
That's how much this has broken us.
So yeah, there's that. I am hopeful that we have some other good ones coming up in the future. So you want to roll the next episode, Josh, and tell me what we've got?
I do. Give me just 1 second to fire up episode.lol, powered by friend of the podcast, Flet. The tape is spinning.
Oh, I hate that part.
So, episode.lol has given us Season 5, Episode 12, Brotherhood. The body of a young man is found in a tank at a wastewater treatment plant. M.E. Warner is able to identify a tattoo that says TE, and it's the symbol for the fraternity Tau Epsilon. This looks like it's centrally concerned with fraternities, which looks like it should be fun.
Josh, it features Serena Williams. Yeah, that Serena Williams.
It does feature Serena Williams. Yeah. It features Serena Williams. It features Gary Cole. It features Eldon Henson and Kristen Schaal. I gotta say, I'm kind of looking forward to this. I think this is going to be good. I think we got some fun shit here.
It's directed by Jean de Segonzac, the favorite SVU director of this podcast.
Yeah, JDS.
So we'll surely be treated to some questionable camera techniques, and I'm here for it.
Because he created the form, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Fuck Cinema Verite when it suits him. But it should be interesting.
Oh, we got it's Wallace University, so we got a whole new college to deal with here.
Uh-oh. I don't remember Wallace University.
Yeah, me neither. So we'll see if it's as fucked up as Hudson or Manhattan Institute of Technology.
It surely will be, right?
Oh, it's another fucking man. We need another ADA, man. It's been a lot of Novak recently.
Yeah, it sure has. Anyway, so as we check out, I want to remind everybody, please go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review the pod if you're enjoying this. Follow us on all the socials. We're almost always at Munch My Benson. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have a subreddit also, Munch My Benson.
Hit us up.
Follow us and all that shit.
Yeah, tell us what we're doing wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And please feel free, if you have questions or whatever, email the pod and we'll fucking get to it.
We will address your concerns.
Yeah, we'll address your concerns or questions.
But in the meantime, it's time to munch our Bensons, okay?
Yeah, munch the fuck out of our Bensons.
The results of the maternity test are in.
No big surprise there.
I was pretty surprised.
Well, Ella has to be the mother, right?
The DNA on the left is Ella's. Her baby boy's is on the right. He's definitely her son.
You had me scared for a second.
He's too much her son.
What does that mean?
We get half our chromosomes from our mother and half from our father. Based on this result, I expanded the testing panel to 25 markers, compared the alleles of the mother to the offsprings. See all the overlaps? This baby and his mother have the same father.
He's a product of incest.